Pat and Langhorne over in the Gable section on Farab. It's actually Connor's grandmom, so hook it up for him. It's going to be bush trimming, mulch install, and then some landscape stone installation in the back, 1 inch to 3 inch stone. So I'll start in the front left side of the house and kind of walk around. So starting over here, the fence kind of goes to here, so you can rake out the beds, clean them up, you know, leaves and stuff, rake them out. This liripe looks like it should have got cut back, so cut that back a little bit. And this you can trim, give it a light round shape. Same thing here, light trim and round shape. Rake out the beds, clean them up. Needs a good, this liripe needs some good trimming too. See all the brown stuff you want to cut out. Beds need pretty good prep. The front's not terrible, back's a little heavier. Try to spray as much as you can, obviously preen and things of that sort. Weed out the beds, black mulch here. In the front, you have to rake out some of the beds a little bit too. It looks like they put in mulch earlier this year, kind of like bag mulch from Lowe's. But there's kind of some weeds coming through, but it's filled kind of high that you'll probably have to rake out some to be able to get new in there. Moving over to here, so there's a flower here, but the rest of this is like a grassy weed pretty much, so you can rip all that out. This has some like grasses growing through it that you can pull out, but the actual plant itself you can leave alone. Trimming, I would trim just a little bit the branches that are just going sideways a little bit and kind of encroaching on that one. Just cut them back very lightly, and then mulch install here. Edge looks pretty good in these spots, actually. It's pretty deep already. Trimming and shaping up of the azalea up there is theirs. Clean up and mulch around the tree here. You can leave the trimming alone of this one here. So this is a ground cover, but if you see any weeds throughout, trim up and clean up. Like most of these I would clean up and trim up, but this ground cover that's like that yellowish dark green is a plant, so you can leave that alone. This is a weed. It's like a maple leaf weed, probably a squirrel brought it in or something. Pull that out, kind of rake out these beds, clean them up. Maybe this part, just try to hook her up a little bit, weed out the weeds around the tree. It's obviously stone, so no mulch, but here I weed all this out as well. Here's not terrible with the weeds, but you'll see some are growing through the plant, so you can pull them out. This is where you'll probably have to rake out a little bit of mulch to be able to get some fresh stuff in there. As far as trimming, you can trim, as long as that's not like, you can trim that back, but things that are blooming, just avoid, obviously, like all the roses, just avoid that, because some are still budding, haven't even popped yet, depending on when we get out and all. But got some weeds growing up through this. You just have to manually kind of rip them out, pull them out. You got mulch around the mailbox there, clean that up. Clean the weeds up in here, please. You can trim that up. You can lightly trim this up. A little bit of mulch, a little bit of weeding. You can trim that up. Wouldn't mess with any of these large shrubs. Leave all that alone. Don't think there's any mulch down there. Side bed's got a lot of weeds, so try to yank these at the root if you can, not cut them. They'll just shoot right back up. And they should be fairly easy to just, they're pretty hardy, so you can yank them and come right out at the root. So try to do that here. Rake out, bed prep, mulch install. It's mostly weeds. There is, you'll notice, a couple purple flowers. You can leave them alone if you can kind of work around them. There's a couple here. There's one in there. So if you can kind of decipher a little bit, you can kind of see the difference a little bit. But and then mulch install here. Mulch install all here. Maybe hook her up, string trim these weeds out of the pavers for her. Trim this back. It's kind of getting onto the walkway, getting into the yard, so trim all that back. Good bed prep in here. Probably don't trim this back because I think it's going to be blooming even more by the time we get out, so leave that alone. Most of the azaleas just leave alone. Bed prep all here. Trim this big guy back a bit. You know, just use your general judgment. You can trim this back. So weed growing like through this one, you can just yank that out. This one might have missed its bloom, or it might be done. So if it looks like it's not blooming at all, you could lightly trim it a little bit, like the ones that are hitting the house. But under there, got a little bit of cleanup to do with leaves and pine needles and stuff. Some of these and stuff to clean out, and then mulch. lightly trim that back. You can leave this alone. I would probably leave the azaleas alone because they're blooming. All this is like weedy growth. You can leave the grassy, leave that, and then the rest is just all like weedy stuff to clear out. And then that's it for in terms of mulching. Back here is a pond, so don't worry about it. Check actually right over here. Yeah, don't worry about anything back there. And then the last scope of work is just gonna be in the corner here. She was saying that water, when it rains, it just like sits here. You'll see it's sunken down a good bit. And she said her dog will go out and kind of play in the mud and then track it in the house. So what we could do is, good part, it's already sunken down a good bit, probably from the water just pounding it down. But let's cut a half semicircle from this post, cut over to that post. So just kind of cut it out like that, remove all the grass, dig out all the soil, get it down bare bones, spray pretty good killer so nothing comes back later, put down some nice thick fabric, pin it down, and then install 1 inch to 3 inch river jack stone. See if she has a hose. I like to try to rinse the stuff off when we're done so it looks good when we're leaving, get a good picture, but if not, not a big deal. I don't know if there's a hose back here, but anyway, and that's it. The stone, the mulch, trimming, all